I'm Olga Barlet, as you know. I'm head of HR of European part of tinyBuild. I have been working as HR manager at game dev sphere more than 10 years now. I had been working at outsourcing company. I worked also at recruiting agency, at consulting agency, and now I work at tinyBuild. It's publishing and game dev creator company. My roles was very different. I started my career from HR roles, and I was also as office manager, as recruiter, and now I am head of HR, as I said previously. Usually I create recruiting and HR processes. I support them at companies, and today I will tell you about changes that was in HR sphere during my career, so during 10 years. Let's kick off. We will start from some expectations that companies had, I think that 5-10 years ago. So at first, when a company hired HR manager to their team, HR manager was responsible for happiness. It was very funny. Perhaps somebody remembers this vacancies, happiness manager. Yeah. It sounds so exhausting. It sounds so funny. And a lot of HR managers wanted to work as happiness manager. And it was very easy because that time all HR managers was hired in the office only. So remote work wasn't possible for HR managers. So we were responsible for happiness, we were responsible for office management, for events, and for any presents, any gifts, any holidays that we had at companies. And if you talk about a little bit other side of HR management, it was about onboarding and adaptation. It was about people development and satisfaction evaluation and a lot of evaluation. So HR managers worked at companies and helped people to feel they're better during their work. But COVID changed all our rules. I think that you remember this time, but I hope that now not very good. You remember because that time we started to find new approach, started to find new processes how to work remotely, especially for HR teams. Because, as you know, teams started to work remotely. And HR manager couldn't work at offices and couldn't do a lot of their responsibilities. So, because a lot of, especially these third points, happiness, office, and event management, were possible only in the offices. Because you had everyday small talks with your teams, you also could help to buy something that teams need, you helped to care about them, and so on. And now, remotely, you couldn't do it. And of course, we can tell that, okay, it's not a problem, because you can set up any calls with any employee. But please, remember, how much calls do you have during a day? And especially these questions for... I'm not sure that we have any programmers, artists, and game designers here, and other specialists. But as I remember, very often when I ask employees, especially during exit interview or during one-to-one meetings, what does they don't like during their working days? They really don't like calls. And every time I heard about it. And please imagine that somebody... that HR manager set up with you one additional calls only to know how are you, how is your tasks, how is your mood, and so on. I'm not sure that you're ready for it. So next things that HR manager charged in, its merge and onboarding adaptation. These points also, especially in the start of COVID, wasn't available because companies closed their production and we couldn't order anything that we need or anything that we want, especially in the start of this period. And companies stopped to hire a lot of people. And it was a period with a lot of layoffs. And HR manager couldn't work with these tasks. So we can see only few things that HR manager could do remotely that time. Okay, so what next? Unfortunately, that period I remember very good because also a lot of HR managers were laid off. And but after that, it was very good period for hiring new people, a team in the second part of COVID, especially in game dev. But it's other story. So it was a time to find new approaches to work. And that time, team leaders became involved deeply to people management because they didn't have any other approach. They work closely with their teams. They had daily communications, and they could understand their mood. They could understand their mood and their environment and atmosphere at their team, because they have every day or maybe a few times per week calls, and they can work closely. Also, team leads understand employees' strengths and weaknesses. I think that it's also some common thing during all time, but not all time they worked with it closely. But now they had to start to do it. Also, it's very important that team leads could understand is their ambitions of their employees match with project or no, and no, because very often we can see situation when employees want to develop their skills in some area. But unfortunately, it's impossible for project because, okay, for example, you can learn, I don't know, 2D graphic, but your company work with 3D projects. So unfortunately, it's maybe a very rude example, but I think that you understand what I mean. And also, a very important thing that team leaders can give more accurate feedback based on their performance review. And this is, as for me, the most important things, because previous time, when especially I started to work as HR manager, we had one-to-one meetings very often with employees, and we had to give them any feedback. And it was very strange, as for me, because, okay, I am as HR manager, I could say something about their soft skills, their behavior in the office, but I couldn't tell anything about their performance and how can I work with it. So this time was very important for us because team leaders became more responsible for their employees, and not all teams had HR managers that period. It's a very interesting situation. Very often I heard this thought that when team consists of 15 people, they have to hire HR manager, and because they couldn't work without it. And now we have a tinyBuild, 120 people in our core team, and we have only one HR manager. It's I. And my team with 3 recruiters. Sometimes they can cover also some things, some areas in HR management, but not very often and not very deeply. When I started to work at tinyBuild, it was a very big surprise. How can they work without HR managers, especially our studios? We have 14 internal studios. And if I remember correctly, we have only 3 of them, or maybe 4, with HR managers, and 2 of them with office. So HR manager cover also office management. office management staff. And for example, when one student stopped their work in the office when war in Ukraine started, so they also started to work remotely, and this HR manager didn't have a lot of tasks. And a lot of months they try to find additional tasks to do. We have a lot of calls with this person. We try to find some additional new areas to develop. And it was very hard for small teams with 15 people to do such big strategic to solve such big strategic issues, for example, like HR brand, HR development of team, and so on. Because this team, small team, really didn't need in this in solving of these issues. So it's a very good example. And now we understand that also small indie teams who started to work from few people. It was also a very interesting situation, especially with one of our students, when they started their project with 5 people, and it was very interesting and very successful project, and suddenly they couldn't understand how they grown up till 20. And one time, all of our team leads got up and understood that they have subordinates, and they have to work with them, they have to deal something with them. And how to do with it, how to do it correctly, they not every time know about it. So, what next? How can we deal with it? And I think that you have a very reasonable question. What about HR managers? Do companies need them now? Or no, or maybe a team can work only themselves. As for me, it depends. It depends on the goals of team. It depends on, of course, of size of team, and it depends also of, I think that of experience of team leaders at the team, especially of CEO or somebody who can mentoring other people. So at tinyBuild, we work in this sphere. So I, head of HR, I'm responsible for leadership development, and it's one of the area of work in this with these cases, because we have to support our leaders. We have to teach them how to work with some people, with some employees, and how to solve some problematic situation, how to work with feedback. So we can consolidate all information that we have in HR sphere, in people management, and we will share with them. Because of course we can tell that they can do it themselves. It's not a problem, of course, but they have to think also about their development in their sphere. They have to care about projects. They have to care about all other things, at finance and budget on their projects. So I think that it's impossible that they develop deeply in people management, so we can help them with it. Also, we can create environment for professional development. It's very important, and now we do it at tinyBuild, and we try to we value our employees who do something in this sphere, and we support our people in it. Also, we can analyze all aspects of HR, of people management, to increase satisfaction, to increase productivity, to increase effectiveness, and so on. Also, we can cultivate culture of trust and maturity. It's very important for now, especially because we are remote teams. A lot of team became remote. Of course, after COVID, a lot of companies came back to the office. But I think that a lot of companies have also hybrid format, have also remote people, and it's very important that they have to be very self-organized. And also we can care about HR brand and about some general policies that can regulate our work. And we have only a few minutes, so I will share with you also an interesting moment that about future of HR management. Last months I heard a lot of about new tendencies, and the main interesting of them, and as for me the main the most interesting for game development. It's well-being, equality, diversity, and implementation of AI into HR work. So, of course, we will care about it, and we will develop it, and we will help our team leaders to work with it, because it's very important to develop our teams. So, I think that our leaders of team can work with their teams themselves. But we can help them with it. We can explain them some things, and we can help them to solve some problematic issues. This is enough for me, and thank you so much for your attention. And this is my contacts. If you need to ask me something, if you need to keep in touch, please, you can use LinkedIn, Facebook, and my email. Perhaps you have any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, right. Do we have any questions from the audience? I will pass you the microphone. Don't be shy. Okay.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Maybe I missed it from the beginning, but my question will be about your company. Exactly what you just shared with us. Is it work in your company? You already achieved the goals to develop all the skills with your managers who are leading the team? Or maybe you faced with some challenges?
Yes, thank you so much for your question. As I talked, that the most unexpected things for me that when I started to work at tinyBuild, that they didn't have any HR managers, but they had very experienced team leaders and head of studios. They had very deep experience in people management, so they could help their team leaders in middle level to develop. And now my role is helping to other team who didn't have such big experience in their management, in management at all, and to teach something, to help to solve some issues that they have in their team with their teams. Sometimes it helps, and sometimes it works. But I think that we are in the middle of our way in this, but honestly, I am proud that we can work without very big HR team. It's a very big challenge. It's a very big challenge for us, honestly, but it's very interesting, and it's very motivate all team to be more independently.
Thank you. Do we have more questions? Okay, then I have one. You said for the future it will be interesting to see how the AI will be implemented in the HR work. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. I think that these questions that we only started to explore. For example, if we talk about tinyBuild, we implement some new recruiting systems that used AI. So it's very helpful for us. We use also AI, of course, for some conversation, for some communications. If we talk about chatting, if we talk about some posts, and so on, it's very useful. And I think that we can use it also for example, for professional development. AI can help us to evaluate some ambitions, to evaluate some direction of development of employees, and can help us to find the most reasonable ways, most reasonable resources maybe to develop the skills. It's only one example that I have now in my mind, but I think that it can be used for a lot of things, and very interesting statistics that I heard. More than 14 hours per week all employees spend for something that can be automated. 14 hours from 40 hours a week. So I think that we have a lot of moments that we can automatize. For example, second example that I have in my mind, and we thought about it in our team, about some chatbots. Chatbots that can help our employees to find their answer to some general questions. For example, about vacation, about buying new technical equipment, about sick leave days and so on. Of course, we can tell that we have handbooks, we have a lot of documents with rules. But I don't know how often your employees open these documents. I can say about our company that very often they come to us with this question. Of course, we can share with them these documents, but they will come back to us with their questions. So, for example, some chatbot can help us with it.
Thank you. Understood. Do we have more questions from the audience? Because I have another one. All right, and I'll go. You said you're teaching the team leaders of some HR, I don't know, tools maybe, how to deal with the teams. What was, or what could be maybe the, I don't know, the most difficult part that people are difficult to consume, to learn?
It depends, especially depends on their experience, previous experience. But I think that the hardest things it's delegation, because very often head of studios, especially, they get used to be responsible for all of this. And when their company, their team grow up, they have to delegate something. But it's very hard for them because in this way they will lose control, and not all time they're ready to trust their leads. And we talk a lot about it. We try to find some common ground about it, and sometimes it's successful.
Understood. Thank you very much. Thank you.